Today, we're going to be doing a brand new 2026 NFL mock draft post Jalen Waddle trade. I am joined today by a very special guest, my friend Garrett, football analysis. Welcome to the show.
Appreciate you having me on. And I mean, if we're just starting this, like Alex, really close, subscribe, 20K. We're right there. Like the video, subscribe, help my guy out. We're close. Like you watching this could be the difference maker. Subscribe, push him over.
Thank you very much, my friend. But I ended up doing the evens on a more recent video with Dalton Wasserman. Shout out to him from PFF. Now I'm going to let Garrett have the ability to choose for the evens. Let's just do number one really quickly, really simply. We're going to go Fernando Mendoza because we know that's the pick. He's someone who I think actually could end up being ceiling wise a top 12 quarterback in the NFL. Floor wise, I think top 20. And that's honestly respectable enough if you have a competent GM and owner to be able, and especially head coach, to be able to make things work. We've seen that very recently. I think he's a good character. You need a leader on the offense. If Max stays, you have a leader on the defense. Solved.
Love it. Also love the acquisition of Tyler Linderbaum or the free agent of Tyler Linderbaum as well as Jalen Naylor. And they have a they have a man, I'm botching this big time. Pick 36, they could go receiver. There's a lot of options for the Raiders to improve the team as well. So any mock draft at this point, you might as well just, fast forward, you know what the first pick is. Now, with the second pick, I am under the belief at this point that the second pick is also made. The Jets need to bring in a really good player. Arvell Reese fits the bill. I would be pretty surprised at this point if the first two picks are not Fernando Mendoza and Arvell Reese. Arvell Reese is a difference maker. I can't wait to see him play at the NFL level. And the Jets quietly had a pretty good free agent cycle. So Arvell Reese to me is the pick at number 2 overall.
Absolutely. I mean, also the free agent acquisitions of Demario Davis and then the edge rushers they brought on, all basically not being legitimately startable edge twos. Kind of seems like they're preparing for that edge position there at 2. Number 3 for the Cardinals. It turns out that apparently Josh Sweat's trade request was smoke. It was a lie. It was fabrication. I already know how he was doing some things behind the scenes. He probably is the one who started it. But I think that edge no longer is a primary concern if they are trying to keep that continuity there. I think it's still possible, but I honestly believe that when you have an offensive head coach, and especially since he is not really one of the big name hires, a lot of times they end up going more of a conservative route. And offensive line is where you start out. I know you're like, who is he protecting? Doesn't matter. You should build the offensive line if you do have that big vacancy there. Maui Noah is someone who performed well in the playoffs. He's someone who I trust a lot. And if he has to end up kicking into guard, Suamalo is not going to be there forever. So I think that you do at least have some contingency plan if things don't work out that will still be successful.
Agree. And right now, this first 3 picks and ultimately the fourth pick, the one that I'm going to go with the Titans, this is how I think the board plays out. I feel like we get to a point every year where it's like, oh, well, is this going to happen at number 2? Is this going to happen at number 3? And we didn't even know draft night till last year that the Jags were going to trade up for Travis Hunter. I mean, you never know, but I really feel like this draft more so than other years because there isn't a premier like this isn't a class where you're going to trade multiple first round picks to go and trade up for somebody. You're not going to see like a pick 15 to pick 3 jump where it's going to be like 2 first round picks in a second, just like an absolutely insane trade. So right now I kind of am under the belief that if the Cardinals go Maui Noah at 3, that the Titans take Jeremiah Love at number 4. And we've seen the Titans over the past couple of years have a lot of dysfunction, and I've expressed my frustration with, ownership, with constantly turning over between GMs and head coaches, that I finally think we have some stability in Nashville. And if you can have an offense with Cam Ward and Jeremiah Love and have a run game be your quarterback's best friend, especially for a second-year quarterback that showed flashes during his rookie season, I'm all for it. I would love the Titans to bring in Jeremiah Love at number 4 overall.
Absolutely. I also think that Jeremiah Love's archetype of being almost like Jahmyr Gibbsy, but with the production in college, is something that you don't find on a year-over-year basis. Some people have him as the number 1 player in the class, regardless of position. So it is also one where you're not reaching for a need. And at least with that, you can maybe swallow the positional value type of conversation. This here at number 5, I want to talk with you a little bit about because obviously Tremaine Edmonds gets brought in, very similar archetype to Sonny Styles. You're talking about very tall, a little bit more on the lankier side, but still built very well. Like, so, I mean, it's just part of the build. But I do know the defensive coordinator is a former defensive backs coach for John Harbaugh. They made an aggressive push for Trent McDuffie. What other positions do you think they'd be open to? Because I'm open to Mansour Delane, but is there anything else that you would even toss into the equation here?
Yeah, I would. So I love the point that you brought up with Tremaine Edmonds. I mean, they didn't bring him in on like a 1 year prove a deal, but it was a 3 for $30+ million. That's a pretty big commitment to Tremaine Edmonds, and he is only 28 years old, despite entering year 10 or year whatever he has, year 9 at this point. So I mean, he still has a couple of years in him, despite being in the league as long as he has. Where I look for the Giants, I would love either Carnell Tate. That would be a really good option that I love for them to pair opposite of Malik Neighbors. I know they brought in Darnell Mooney. I know they have Darius Slayton, but to me, I mean, Malik Neighbors is coming off a torn ACL. I fully believe that Malik Neighbors will be 100% at some point. I mean, it's more of a precaution, like, hey, let's bring in another great receiver to pair with Jackson Dart. We already have Isaiah Likely. We have Cam Scattaboo. Why not continue to do everything we possibly can to help out our young quarterback that showed significant flashes during the 2025 season? So Cardinal Tate would be a player that I'd absolutely love. That'd be a player that and a pick that I could absolutely get behind. Either Cardinal Tate or I don't know if I'd go Mansour Delane. Not that he's a bad player, but they did have significant corner investment last year. They also lost a couple of corners this year in free agency. So you know what? I could be talked into Mansour Delane. Personally, I think it's either Carnell Tate or Sonny Styles. Somebody that I saw in a mock draft recently commented for a Giants mock draft, just give them a Buckeye. And I could get behind that idea as well. Whether, it is Carnell, Sonny, Caleb Downs is a tremendous player. I would go Carnell Tate personally.
You know what? I'm going to take your recommendation because it's so chalk at the top. And this is one where, because of that notable investment, and they ended up bringing back Micah McFadden, it could be one where they think that the position is patched enough, and especially in a deep linebacker class, maybe they want to go and invest elsewhere. Cardinal Tate, I think this would end up being a trade back if there is an opportunity to do so. Maybe there's a team that's looking for, like, I doubt it, but if there's one that's looking to make a move up, this would be one where if I'm the Giants, I'd be taking at least some sort of phone call, because Carnell is kind of a 1B. I'm curious if you agree with that. Not really a true 1A, and he doesn't need to be one here. So you are getting the maximum value and the perfect rollout of Carnell Tate. Again, a lot of injuries. So could end up being the case. And John Harbaugh is far from shy from investing in receivers. We've seen him do it plenty of times, even in the first.
No, I love Carnell Tate. He is my wide receiver one in this class. And in terms of maximizing success for a player, I don't think it's a coincidence that George Pickens had the best year of his career when he was finally in a stable situation in Dallas. And he didn't have the success he had because of CD on the other side. I don't want that to be the implication, but once he had a better situation, I don't think it's a coincidence that he had that success. And I mean, Carnell Tate, Malik Neighbors, for a mock draft exercise, I'm all for pairing those two guys. And it also fits a big need for the Giants. Yep. So the Browns are up. Generally in this spot, I usually go one of Carnell Tate or Monroe Freeling, of course, because I am with the evens. I am selecting the evens today. I will have a pick again at pick 24. I mean, for me, there's a part of it where I would love to bring in Mekhi Lemon with the 6th overall pick, but I kind of asked the question of, do we want to bring in Jordan Tyson, who has missed time in college due to injury? I like Monroe Freeling as a prospect. I tweeted this the other day. I'm not a fan of Monroe Freeling going from a guy that was mock, 25 to 35, 30 to 40, somewhere in there, to having a good combine. And then, oh, by the way, now he's mocked regularly to Cleveland at 6th overall. Now, I do want to say that I have liked what the Browns have done over the past month. They were really in a corner by every definition in terms of your offensive line situation entering next season is screwed. Figure it out on the fly. I think they've done a tremendous job in terms of that. So there's parts of me that says continue to build on that, draft an offensive tackle, but I do think that Mekhi Lemon is a better receiving prospect than I do Monroe Freeling is as a tackle prospect. This team has also been horrendous to watch offensively over the past couple of years. Obviously, Browns fans are well aware of that, aside from the Joe Flacco couple of game run towards the end of the 2023 season, in which it was pretty much big play or turnover. That was pretty much the end result of most of those drives. I've mocked a receiver or tackle here. I would be shocked if that is not the selection here, if it's not one of those positions. For today's mock, I'm going to go Mekhi Lemon, wide receiver, USC.
Getting ballsy. Let's go with it.
Who would you have went?
So, I mean, I'm 100% on board with you in terms of believe Mekhi Lemon's a better prospect than Freeling. My mindset's a little bit different than yours because I had Freeling pretty comfortably to the Lions because last year they went after Ratledge. So I was like, okay, I mean, there's some continuity there with the Georgia guys. But so I guess it's a little bit more attainable of a jump solely because he went from tackle 3 to tackle 2. But just because of the arm length of Fano just being a little bit more of a red card, so to speak. But I do think it's something that not a lot of people talk about is that the NFL recognizes a lot of trends. And the trend recently is these receivers keep going in the, near the 20 range. And everybody ends up saying like, man, this player is way better than where they were drafted. Abuka last year when he was red hot. You look at JSN, like a lot of these receivers in the 20 range where like maybe Mekhi Lemon could end up slipping in some of these mocks. Maybe teams are going to start realizing that it's one of the quickest translating positions. And it could end up being something where NFL teams in a weaker draft class are going to take something that's a more of a guaranteed, easier, instant solution than maybe taking a bigger project. Your thoughts?
Agree. And also, when you look at the Browns receiving core, I'm not a big Jerry Jeudy guy. I was when he came out as a prospect. I was a huge Jerry Jeudy guy. I loved him,
Yep.
but at this point, it just seems like it's always something. I'm not sold on him. Cedric Tillman's a guy where I want him to break out, but it seems like we've been waiting for that breakout for plural years now. And then after that, Isaiah Bond, Malachi Corley. It's not just bring in a player that could easily be the wide receiver one, honestly, by the 5th week of the regular season. Maybe Judy's maybe not over Jerry Jeudy right away, but definitive wide receiver 2. Like this is a player that in the right system, right fit could go for 1,000 yards as a rookie.
Absolutely. And I mean, I still think that he could end up superseding Jerry Jeudy as the true one and like going from there because I don't think Judy's truly made the mark as a top 20
Right.
receiver in the NFL, which Mekhi
Right.
Lemon has that potential. All right. Number 7 with the Commanders. I'm in an interesting situation here. They just got Leo Chanel, but Sonny Styles is here, and it's very tough to say no to that, especially when you have more of a defensive head coach. I don't think edge rusher is on my menu based on the amount of investment they've put there with both Caleb Chase on as well as Dafe Owe. Caleb Downs is interesting because you can pair him up with Nick Cross for the long haul. That would be something I'd be 100% down for if his medicals fully check out. And honestly, I think that's the route they go. Like the linebacker value, the amount of money they've been making, it just showed that either the NFL has a ton of faith in this draft class or they finally started realizing that maybe unless you have the best of the best linebackers, which Sunny Style could be, maybe they're not as differentiated and not as valuable. So we'll see what happens there, but they got a steal and maybe they're just going to continue doing that for the linebacker position. I'm going to throw a curveball and go Caleb Downs at 7. Best player in the class.
I personally wouldn't have been upset with Ruben Bain. I would have.
Yep.
I think they were. I think if the board plays out like that for the Commanders, I really think that they're in a golden position where they can virtually do no wrong. Simply take whatever good player falls into your lap, whether it's Caleb, Sonny, Ruben, you're golden. And honestly, I really wouldn't be upset even if they would have if you would have mocked them Jordan Tyson there because I'm a Jordan Tyson guy. I like him a lot. I would not have been upset with that selection. Now with the same kind of process that we had in mind with the Giants here, I'm going Jordan Tyson. I know there's going to be some injury concerns here with drafting him number 8 overall, and there is something to be said about the fact that Chris Olave. There was a lot of discussions right now a year ago about whether or not that he would retire due to concussions. I look at the Saints receiving core outside of Chris Olave. We're looking at Devon Vele, Bub Means, Kevin Austin, Trey Palmer, Mason Tipton, Jalen Polk, who is coming off of a season-ending injury. He was a second-round pick a couple of years ago. are any of those players stopping me from taking Jordan Tyson in a year where, I mean, it's not like a now or never year for Tyler Shuck, but you are in a year where if Tyler Shuck were to regress, if Tyler Shuck were to again hypothetically either have a big injury early on or have a really bad season, then the conversations of, well, look how old he is as a player. Okay, let's look at the 27 draft. And I'm not trying to bring the idea of Tyler Shuck down as much as it is to say, let's plan on Tyler Shuck being the quarterback of the future and do everything we can to help him out. We already brought in Travis Achane this offseason. Let's help out Tyler Shuck even more and bring him Jordan Tyson. I really like their selection of Kelvin Banks last year. I think the Saints I think Fuaga will get better as time goes on, but Fuaga, Banks, Tyson, you're looking at, a couple of years span of doing the draft process the right way. So shout out to the Loom for the 2025 class with Kelvin Banks, with Tyler Shuck, with Jonas Sanker. Hopefully Devin Neal gets a little more action this year. I like what the Saints have. So Jordan Tyson, help out Tyler Shuck, build this team the right way.
2 questions. I ended up interrupting you a little bit earlier for this, but where do you have Jordan Tyson? Like, is he actually a top 10 player for you, even with the medicals? Or
hold on. Let me pull up the big board. I did have the big board. Hold
see,
on. I had
do
the
you
big board.
sell your big board, or is this?
It's on a members portion of the of the channel here. So let me see if I can hold on. I haven't updated it in a couple.
Go and check out the members portion of Garrett's channel.
Full transparency, I have not updated in a couple weeks. So just give me 1 sec here. I had Tyson, player 12 is where I had him.
Yeah. And does that factor in medicals?
So it was pre-comp. Short answer, no, that did not. Because,
Okay.
but it's also, there's a part of me where it's like, hey, look, there's 32 NFL teams that are worth billions of dollars. They are going to know way more about that than I ever will. So it's kind of like you have to take it with a grain of salt unless there is something major coming out like, hey, this. That was not really factoring in. It's just, he's a really good player.
Yeah.
All right. There's only so much you can do pre-draft of like, hey, let's factor this in. And then, okay, let's factor it in. Do we bring them all the way down to player 50? You know what I mean? Just being dramatic there for the sake of that, but you get what
absolutely. I mean. No, I mean, I end up basing my board like on talent, and then I'll leave like a plus if I just genuinely know that there's some injury concern that I can't quantify.
Mm-hmm.
He's my number 2 player pre-injury. So I understand the love now. I understand the love.
Yeah.
All right. At number 9 for the Chiefs, I'm going Blake Miller, tackle out of
Whoa.
Clemson. No, I'm just kidding.
Dude, yeah, I was like, wait a minute. Well, okay.
I just lost I just recorded a mock for tomorrow. So for my fans, for the subs, you guys will get to experience that. I lost my shit over Blake Miller at number 21. I had to see if you're going to call me out on it on my own show. No. So for the Chiefs, they're actually in some pretty good spots here. You lost Leo Chanel. Sonny Styles could be a dark horse spot that you just never really thought could happen. I mean, I'd screw you over at the next pick. I know that, but I don't think based on the fact that Leo Chanel was as cheap as he was, they don't value it to that degree. So I'm going to say that they're going to pass on that position when you have 2 amazing looking edge rushers here in Ruben Bain as well as David Bailey. For the people who want to say corner is not realistic at 9, I'll just say, because we've done great value with our corners. You still had a corner that you drafted in the first round when you ended up taking those other players. So I'm going to just counter that there. But I'm going to go after David Bailey because this team does not really care too much about the personality concerns. They need to get pass rush and most importantly, an actual pass rusher. Felix Anudike-Uzomah has been cheeks. They don't care about menaces to society, which David Bailey has a small percentage chance of being, which makes him even more of a chief. So we're going to go David Bailey, edge rusher out of Texas Tech at number 9.
I will say, by the way, that even if you wanted to take Sonny, I wouldn't have opposed to it because he's a really good player.
Right.
But by the way, one player that I think one team that I think is a big trade up candidate is, and I'm actually not just saying this just because you are a fan of them, but I think the Steelers are just a big potential trade up. They have 5 picks at the top 100.
They do.
And if the draft plays out like this, where Monroe Freeling is still there, there's several options that the Steelers could go here. Like if they wanted to trade up, especially with 5 picks in the top 100, whether they, there's a lot of players.
There is. And also the last time I remember there was like a top tier linebacker, top tier,
Devin Bush.
available at 10, Devin Bush. We traded up with the Broncos, maybe. They ended up drafting, of course, Noah Fant with their trade down. But just saying, Sonny Styles is there too. If we want to get rid of Queen eventually, that'd be kind of an interesting shift.
Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Speaking of Sonny Styles, this is such an easy pick for the Bengals. I know they just drafted 2 linebackers in the first 4 rounds last year. I honestly, I wasn't a fan of. I didn't like the Bengals draft last year from the start. I thought Shamar was overdrafted. I did not like Demetrius Knight. I thought he was like a middle of round 3 player. They took him in the top 50. Generally speaking, I thought the Bengals had a bad process last year, all the way around with their draft. This is how you can rewrite it. Sonny Styles is, I would say, a top 10 player in this class. At the absolute worst, some people would probably say top 5. I like Sonny Styles a lot, and the tape speaks for itself. The combine numbers especially speaks for itself. He's a really good player. Don't overthink it. Definition of draft a good football player. I will say, I know the Bengals have made a lot of investments over the past couple of years in the edge position, whether it was Shamar last year or Miles Murphy back in 23, who had a good end of the 2025 season, and they just paid Boye Mafe. I would not be opposed to drafting Ruben Bain if he fell to number 10, despite all of those, because Ruben Bain is another draft a great football player. Don't overthink it. But what I will say for the sake of this mock, Sonny Styles, great player, already in the state of Ohio. Just bring him on over from Columbus, and you have a starting good linebacker for the next several years.
I love that. I mean, I used to be back when like it was mid-season. I don't think Sonny at mid-season deserved to be in this range. He deserved to be in the top 15 range, but when people were trying to push him top 10, I still thought there was a lot of his game that was still clicking. And at the end of the year, you really just saw like that Indiana game, especially, everything finally clicked. And that's why for me, I held out on Sonny Styles for a while. He's now in my top 5, but big fan of that because there's not, you'll agree to this, I believe. There's not a ton of very good linebackers in the NFL, and there's just a clear tier of the best, and there's, then the rest. And I think Sonny Styles could be among the best, and that could end up really paying off and being one of the outliers of that linebacker value. Now, here at number 11, huh?
I just saying, I agree.
Yes. Okay, so here at number 11, Dolphins. You guys are just on a fire sale. You do want to send number 32 for Achane?
Well, I mean, I would like to, yes, if that is an option for Seattle. Like if we can trade pick 32 for Devon Achane, and you as the GM, John Eric Sullivan, Hail Mary Sports, if you are that person, I would like to do that. Yes, if you are willing to accept.
You own the Seattle Seahawks, so if you guys would be offering that, I absolutely would be willing to oblige. So I will be doing that. Number 32 overall, we got the Seahawks, and they're sending that for Achane. So I have to like go and look over here. There we go. And so we're sending that in. You guys ended up getting an extra first. Seattle fans, do not worry. I will still talk about strategy for what you guys should be drafting as well. So
it's actually pronounced Devon Etienne, by the way.
Are you serious?
No, I was just doing because
I saw someone tweet that earlier, and I was like,
no, it was just a joke because Travis Achane, like 6 years into his career, anyway. Keep going.
Yeah, because right, okay, it was the other way around because I saw that it's Etienne says it's Achane now, right?
Yes. So the joke is that Devon Achane's name is actually pronounced Etienne.
Okay, so okay, I feel you. I understand. So yeah, Seahawks fans, we're still going to talk about strategy for you guys at the end of the episode. So number 11, let's strategize because you have 30 and 32 now as well. So we're in on this together.
Yeah. Okay. I know where I'd go. I'm sprinting this in.
Ruben Bain.
Yeah, 100%. He's such a good football player. Put him opposite of Chop Robinson. You have cost-controlled contracts with 2 young edge rushers. Chop, obviously a down 2025 season, but had over 50 pressures as a 21-year-old rookie. No-brainer. No-brainer, especially for a position that by the time, if both of those guys get paid, would be north of 40. Probably. I mean, Chop wouldn't get the Micah deal, but he'd get a big deal if he were to go back to that player. No-brainer to have low cost at that position.
And it's like a lightning and thunder approach at edge, which I think ends up pairing up very nicely with Chop's skill set.
100%.
And keeps him in Miami. So I don't know where you have Ruben Bain. I have him top 5 as well.
I actually had him when I did my big board. I got to update my big board. So this was about it's close to a month ago. Close to a
Okay.
month ago. I actually had him at player uno.
I respect that. I love it. All
Love
right.
it with me. All right, this pick here, Jerry Jones at our old age of 85 or whatever he is at this point. We're sprinting this one in as fast as we can. No doubt, Mansour Delane. I love Mansour Delane. I think I will be higher on Mansour Delane than most in this class. He's a player that I absolutely love. I think you can play him in any system. Whenever you watch him on the football field, especially, I mean, you turn the all 22 on, the first thing you see is confidence. This is a player that has upper echelon CB1 abilities. This is a player that, if everything goes right, I could easily see being a multiple, well, I'm so used to saying like Pro Bowl, but a player that could make an all pro at some point in his career. He is such a tremendous player. Do not overthink this. He falls to pick 12. Cowboys fans would be absolutely thrilled.
I think it's a great move. Mansour, you and I have already talked about this outside of this. Mansour is definitely a guy for both of us. We are big fans. Number 13 for the Rams. The wide receivers have been eviscerated.
Tough
We're
spot.
done. I mean, technically, Omar Cooper's here. I don't think I'm going to pull that trigger. So let's look at some other options. Monroe Freeling is. And the weird thing is, strategically, the Rams aren't necessarily in that position to just draft right tackle. If I'm not mistaken, War McClendon's there for another year, and it's pretty serviceable with Havenstein out. So Fano's a possibility if you want to go with that route and just upgrade a position, secure it for the long haul. Where else would you be looking at this point? Because I know some people want to talk about Kenyon Sadiq here as well. It seems a little bit tough, to say the least, for a team that's in win now mode to be in this position.
Yeah, I mean the Rams. You look at the roster; that's one of the most complete in the NFL. They just brought in Trent McDuffie. They just brought in Jalen Watson. You really address both corners there. I don't think you need to triple down and bring in Jermod McCoy. At this spot, I would go either Monroe Freeling or Kenyon Sadiq. And personally, with how good the Rams already are offensively, I would say let's bring in another player that is a unicorn at his position. I mean, the fastest 40 time ever. He's a really good player. Kenyon Sadiq would be he would be a tremendous player in this offense. Sean McVay with this type of tight end is something we have never seen in the Sean McVay era. So this would be the best Rams tight end in the past 10 years to play for this team. And I would be all for it. It would be a great fit. He would not be the focal point of the defense, mainly due to Puka Nacua already being there, who's an elite wide receiver one. You have Devontae Adams, who just led the NFL in receiving touchdowns. This would be an absolutely dangerous offense. I personally would prefer one of the receivers to Kenyon Sadiq specifically for this team because Devontae is 33 years old. Obviously, this didn't work out, but Kenyon Sadiq, given that this team is so close to a Super Bowl, a second Super Bowl, that's where I would go.
Fair enough. I think with the context of Jordan Tyson not being available, Mekhi Lemon not being available, this is a lot more palatable for me. And this team is geared towards win now. Monroe Freeling would be almost a mitigation move and like more of a construction for the long haul. I think if they want to go push all the chips in, they've tried to make a move up for Brock Bowers. If not mistaken, did they try to make a move up for Loveland? They've tried to make moves for receivers before as well. It's very clear that they're still trying to build up, and they drafted Kenyon's teammate last year in Ferguson. So you have some instant chemistry there in the locker room and can use Sadiq wherever you please. So I'm going to stick with it as well.
I would also say this in regards to drafting Kenyon Sadiq is, in theory, I think Monroe Freeling is the better draft pick. Like in theory, but what I'm saying is you get a ring this year, and Kenyon Sadiq has 5 catches for 72 yards in the Super Bowl. It literally does not matter. That's worth, that's everything.
Strategically, it makes sense. Yeah,
Right.
I see the vision.
All right, the Ravens are up. To me, this is a very easy pick. Achane. I think he's one of the safest players in this class. He's a monster. Turn on the tape, it's pancake. I mean, he's knocking guys down. He's setting the tone. He would be an upgrade from Andrew Voorhees or Daniel Falele last year. He's a better player now than either of those players are now. Simply draft him. Don't overthink it. You brought in Trey Hendrickson as a pass rusher. Great player. Should be in Baltimore for a long time.
Hell yeah. I personally, so I think Ioane is a perfectly fine player. I prefer Fano, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. For this one reason. I look at Declan Doyle and what he dealt with last year and the way they brought in Joe Tooney, who has tackle versatility, and got me believing that maybe Spencer Fano could end up mirroring that maybe better than Ioane. But what are your thoughts between the two? Because they're completely different styles of offensive linemen. Or are you locking in that Spencer Fano should still be a tackle?
No, I acknowledge what you like. I agree with you in the sense, obviously, with the playing style difference and with Fano having more of the tackle guard versatility.
Mm.
And I mean, that's a great point with the guard tackle versatility. There's a great point of, hey, this is what their OC just had. I personally think that Gianni is a better player than Fano. I'd rather draft a guy that is a better player than, hey, what about this guy that has this versatility? They already have Ronnie Stanley. I know that he's entering year 11 at this point, believe it or not. I know time flies, but I would rather draft a player that in the middle of the first round that I think legitimately has all pro potential.
I respect that. All right. Number 15 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is one of my least favorite picks, honestly, in the first round. One of the main reasons.
There's a couple tough ones.
There definitely are. I think for the Buccaneers, what you want to replace is one of the edge positions. I think defensive interior absolutely will be on the radar, especially now that defensive interiors, even mid tier that are still solid, are getting 20 plus million. So Kalijah Cansey, not necessarily the most reliable in terms of health as well, if not mistaken. So I'm actually going to look and throw a curveball here as well for a player who I still very much love, and I think could fit either into a Cansey role when injured or into the Logan Hall role. I'm looking at Peter Woods. I know that there's been some injury concerns in terms of the hamstring, and then he dropped like 18 pounds over the past year. I think now it's officially 13 pounds. But yeah, I mean, he's somebody, even with short arms, is incredibly strong. And you cannot match the top tier high end plays unless you're going with Caleb Banks, who has even worse medical concerns. Obviously, Peter Woods just fell because, I guess, inconsistency. But I know, Garrett, you and I are we always love to show love towards Marcus here as well. That franchise guy, he ended up talking about, time to throw versus Clemson. And when you end up looking at the teams that faced Clemson, their time to throw was 0.3 to 0.5 seconds quicker than any other team they faced when they went up against Clemson. They feared that defensive front. That's a big reason as to why they're not producing as much, because there's just not as much time to produce. So I think Peter Woods would still be an absolute stud here and will be a win now move.
Yeah, this is one where every process there's a couple of guys. Why is Peter Woods falling? Why is he I don't want to let me choose my words here carefully. I'm specifically not calling out Daniel Jeremiah. Obviously, he is tremendous. Love DJ, but he had a big board last couple weeks ago. Might have been in February at this point. I don't know. We're in March 17th. A couple weeks ago, where Peter Woods was player 38, and I didn't understand why. That was one where I look at the player, look at the tape. Why is he this low? Peter Woods is a player that if he falls to pick 15, I mean, which I would actually be pretty surprised if he doesn't fall to pick 15, but you could pass player 20 couple with Peter Woods. He's going to be one of the bigger steals, no pun intended, because he is a big boy, but he's a really, really good football player. Don't overthink it. And this defense would absolutely love it.
Yeah. What are you going to do for the Jets, my friend?
Dude, I'm going to be honest. I have no idea. You know what? I'm just, we drafted Arvell Reese. Let me take a look here. They brought in mostly front seven guys in free agency on the defensive side of the ball.
Yep.
I like Omar Cooper Jr. By the way, I'm not done with Adonai Mitchell. I still think that there's potential there. Maybe I'm gonna die on the hill on that one, but I'm a big Adonai Mitchell fan.
You and I both.
This is very much like medical pending. Again, the Jets are gonna have more access to this than I will. I'm going to go Jermon McCoy here. And I look at the Jets corner room right now. Azareye'h Thomas, liked him as a prospect last year. Is he CB1 of the NFL? I don't know. Brandon Stevens, I'm admittedly not a big Brandon Stevens guy. They did bring in Deshaun Wright. Jarvis Brownlee, that was, by the way, shout out Darren Muji for that addition. To just waive Jarvis Brownlee and say, hey, basically, it was like a 5th round, 6th round swap or whatever it was for Jarvis Brownlee. Tremendous move by Darren Muji to go get Jarvis Brownlee last year. Continue to bring in good players. If Jermon McCoy's medicals do not pass, Jets fans, and you are watching this, I would probably go Avion Terrell would probably be the next pick, which is still a good corner from Clemson. So we're looking secondary here, but I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to Omar Cooper either if you wanted to bring in receiver. But for today's mock, Jermod McCoy.
You know what I love about it as well? When you look at the profile of the corners that the Jets have brought in,
Yes.
Brandon Stevens. So, funnily enough, Rashee Rice was the first interview on the show. And I asked him in that interview, I said, who was the toughest corner you went against? And he said, B. Steve. So, Brandon Stevens. So, SMU pony up. But on top of that, you look at Zaire Thomas, big physical corner. You look at Jarvis Brownlee, an absolute animal at Louisville. Jermod McCoy has that same physical profile. So I absolutely believe that it could be in play here at 16. And, if we'll see if the higher management has any sort of sway or gives any sway to the current regime. I think we kind of know it's like a lame duck process right now, and they're
Right.
just getting excited to recruit somebody with 3 1s in the coaching carousel. But yeah, Jermod McCoy fits perfectly with the identity that they have in that corner core. So I absolutely love it, especially if the medicals check out. 17. Detroit.
This big question here: which one you going with, Fano or Freeling? I feel like this is the big layup here. Like which one?
Yeah.
Just go ahead and pitch me which one you're going with here. Sell me this pen with which tackle you're going with here.
Dude, I'm going Freeling all day. I was really saying it at the start when we were talking about the Browns at 6. It's like Freeling was my immediate insertion at number 17, because I love obviously you're going back to Georgia for a high round draft pick on the offensive line that's already worked out. And then on top of that, he does have right tackle experience with, I think, 180 reps at right tackle. So if you do want to try to make that switch where Penei goes to left, you don't have to worry about it being the first time Monroe takes the field at right tackle. On top of that, Fano has noticeably shorter arms. There's a potential that he would end up being moved to center on the squad, and then that leaves Christian Mahogany to guard because Mays is just brought in, which leaves Mahogany as the odd man out. I'd rather just have somebody who's a legitimate tackle who has already some connections to the offensive line there, and call it a day. His grade did not go up because of the combine. It's pretty obvious he was a great athlete as it was.
All right, we are on the clock, and this is. I mean, we're at the point now in the process where like it's such a chalk pick. Like, I feel like the Vikings and Lions. It just depends. Like, hey, like which player falls. Okay, like because there's only so. I mean, you can only have 16 players go in the top 16. Naturally, one is going to fall. Naturally, one is. You know what I mean? And the one thing that I will say about the Lions at 17 is they're kind of in a position where we mentioned this with the Bucks and Broshmo actually, and we did a mock draft recently where I had the Browns trade up from 24 to 15 to go get Monroe Freeling. So I think there's a possibility that the Browns maybe look to trade up if he starts to fall. They have 4 top 70 picks. Well, 3, not including 6. They have 24, 39, and 70. So wanted to toss that out there. Anyway, with the Vikings up here, their safety room last year, not great. Dylan Thieneman, great player. Flores would absolutely love him being able to play him all over the field. If he is available at pick 18, barring some prospect that we do not see there, maybe one of the receivers fall, just something we do not see. Dylan Thieneman, I would be shocked if he's not the pick at this point for the Vikings. So, really good player going to a team that desperately needs safety help, and that's what you look for. A good marriage with a team need with a good player.
Perfect selection. So, question for you. Let's just say somehow, some way, Jermod McCoy's medicals don't check out and they take Dylan Thieneman, for example. So he's taken off the board. The only other guy who we're adding on is Jermod McCoy. Or you can insert another player that is not applicable to the Vikings. So just insert like Ioane. Let's just say like Fano's there. We see something in terms of that fallout. So what would you be open to for the Vikings if it's not one of the immediate chalk players? The receivers are all gone, and then Dylan Thieneman's gone as well.
I love Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. That's still a good. I mean, it's still a good safety prospect. I don't think that you have the ball production that he had during his time in college by accident. You're not always consistently around the football, making big plays and being that type of impact player. That just doesn't. Oh well, shucks. Guess I'm in a position to force a fumble. Guess I'm in a position to make a play. Like that doesn't happen by accident. So
Right.
Thieneman, if we walk out with Thieneman, McNeil-Warren, Peter Woods, I'm good with any of those 3. Or, I mean, not that he's going to fall, but I mean, Jeremiah Love, of course. I mean, come on. But
yeah, Fair enough. Jeremiah Love would be incredible. All right. So number 19, though, for the Carolina Panthers, you could try to go ballsy and then say we're going to who's the center currently? Because I know Mays ended up going to
Oh, shoot.
Detroit.
Hold on. Let me
Is
look
it
at this.
I know. I just put it on you when I didn't know.
No, because that was big for the Panthers to lose Cade Mays, and that was a
Right.
really, really good pickup for the
Detroit,
Lions.
yeah.
It
Mhm.
is Luke Fortner.
Whew.
Yeah,
Alright, what are
exactly.
your yeah. You know what? I'm gonna do something a little crazy here. I'm gonna go Spencer Fano to play center with the vision of him actually being the long-term answer at right tackle. We're gonna have a short-term fill. He took center snaps after his offensive line drills over at the combine, and then he also has the ability to be a right tackle. So if Moton gets hurt, you do have that ability there. Someone who could truly play all five positions in the offensive line if you need to, which does have its value on its own. But I honestly think Spencer Fano on the interior of the offensive line is a blue chip player, and that's
Hmm.
worth it as a mid to late one. Like that is worth it. Just because, we're going to compare it to Linderbaum doesn't mean you have to dilute the value of Spencer Fano here. He might not be a Linderbaum level player, but he sure as hell could be probably a top 5 to 10 center in the NFL if all goes right, based on what I think of him. So I'm going to go with him there, be the center for the short term. Screw Luke Fortner, and we have our right tackle of the future potentially as well. We'll see in camp.
I will say, to add on to this, if you legitimately think Fano could be a top 5 to 10 center,
Yeah.
that you're probably not the only one that has that sentiment, respectfully. Like, and I would say that that would also be in play for the Vikings if he's there, because we need a center very bad. So
That's what I
I
was
would,
thinking about. I was letting you have your free reign to see
I
if you're gonna
appreciate it.
bring that idea up, but I do like the fact that, like, obviously you're acknowledging that as well.
All right. Dallas is up. We already took and we sprinted to the podium with Mansour Lane. Feel like it's another good pick here. CJ Allen, bring in a good linebacker. You brought in Rashawn Gary. You have Rashawn Gary. You have Donovan Ezeraku entering year two. I know he had an injury last year, but look, you can quickly talk yourself into the Cowboys defense, not being like one of the worst in terms of DVOA in the past 40 years, which is not wrong to say that. They did trade away Osa Digizua recently, but look, Quinn Williams, Kenny Clark, Rashawn Gary, CJ Allen, Mansour Delane, my guy Donovan Ezeraku. I'm a big Donovan Ezeraku guy, but this is a defense that you can talk yourself into and just say, hey, can you guys not allow 40 plus points? So if we put up 35, that we can actually like win a game. And yeah, they would do that. And I don't think they would be 31st ranked either, by the way, for clarity. I think they'd be significantly above that.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. CJ Allen, I think, is a great move, especially because they also tried to make a move for Nakobe Dean. It's pretty clear they at least see a vision for a Georgia linebacker, even a shorter one, being on the squad. So makes sense. Christian Parker getting his Georgia linebacker there. 21 for the Steelers is fun.
Going
I hate
Titans.
that term. I hate whenever people say fun. You
Titans.
know me, like it's such a cop out. You're like, oh, this player's fun, but it's true. We love these players. Bless, brother.
Thank you.
But 21, Omar Cooper Jr. might be singing to me. Let's go through some of the options. This is my team, of course. So if you guys are new to the show, I'm a big fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers. You talk about Caleb Lomu for the fact that he could play guard in the short run if Broderick Jones's cheeks. You can kick him out to tackle and then kind of have a 1-for-2 switch there. I don't think that's necessarily the route I want to go. I don't think it's the way the Steelers are going to be targeting, even though apparently in DJ's mock today went Blake Miller. So apparently it's on our board. But honestly, we did a lot of work on the top receivers, and the way to pair with Michael Pittman Jr. and DK Metcalf to provide something that we don't really have is a skill set that I think Omar Cooper does, which is attacking every level of the field from short to middle to deep, and being also a solid contested catch threat. You can't just rely on old Michael Pittman Jr. Shout out to old high school classmate there, but Omar Cooper Jr., the selection at 21.
All right. Any thought? Just saying, different skill set than Pittman and DK. Any thought of KC there? Any thought at all?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do worry about the drop rate,
Very fair.
and we'll see what happens there. But I've done KC to Pittsburgh several times.
Okay.
I just think Omar, he tested out better than what we saw, and then extremely clutch, came up big, national champion. He's definitely in the mix though.
Okay.
I know
All
you
right.
love KC, and plus,
No, I do. Yeah, I know. But
I would love the returnability as well. So I
I
would
like
never
both
complain.
players. I like both players. All right. The Chargers are up.
They are.
Penn State guard not there. They're in a tough situation with Trevor Penning and Cole Strange as their slated starters right now as we enter the 2026 season.
Mhm.
I like Emmanuel Pregnon quite a bit. I think he's a player that is honestly being a bit overthought.
Yep.
This is one where it's like, hey, do we go with him or do we go with kind of a fun pick where we would have on the back end of the defense Derwin James and Emmanuel McNeil Warren and just have kind of like the Bash brothers there? And that's a mock drafts I used to take like life or death where it'd be like, oh my God, how dare you not give my team this guy? And it's like, you know what? The older that I get, I'm like, this is a fun thought experiment. Emmanuel Pregnon is a player that I like a lot from Oregon. Would I wouldn't be opposed to that at all if you play him either next to Rashawn Slater or Joe Alt. Take whichever side you want to pair him on. I think he's a good player that will start for a team for a couple of years. But Emmanuel McNeil Warren, Derwin James, that's where we're going today. You could certainly use a safety in that room. I would not be too upset if they also drafted Caden McDonald from Ohio State, but we're going to go EMW to the Chargers at 22.
Damn. That was my pick for the Eagles, man.
Sorry.
The Bash brothers made it worth it, though. Move over Bang Bros. We have Bash Bros over in Los Angeles. I got you on that one, didn't I? Number 23 for the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's see. So, honestly, I love Jermod McCoy when he's here. He's obviously not because of the fact that I think he works in a Vic Fangio system, and Reek Wallen would basically be someone to patch him up as he gets up to speed. Obviously not the long-term answer there. Hopefully I'm wrong about that. But there is an AJ saga, and I want to talk with you a little bit about that. Do you believe that we're going to see AJ Brown moved? And if so, is it going to be after June 1st for that $20 million cap differential?
I think it'll be after June 1st. They signed Hollywood Brown today. Not that makes the big difference. But I do think AJ will be moved. Somebody said it recently. I think it might have been Trevor Sycamore, where he's like, AJ Brown plays at most 6 more games for the Birds, which would be the deadline for next year. And quite frankly, I'd have to agree with that. Although I would like to think he's traded in June. That way we have a camp like to build up with his new team.
Yeah.
So where you're looking, at least on the screen, Denzel Boston would make a lot of sense to me because you get that big bodied receiver. You would presumably get another high pick for AJ Brown. So your choice, obviously, but that's.
Yeah, I would honestly be looking at Casey Concepcion, funnily enough. I think that Hollywood Brown might be just kind of a placeholder. And to me, it signals that they look at that role as like a legitimate one. So this would actually be a legitimate long-term option of what Hollywood Brown would bring. I think they're going to pray that Chris Bell gets to him in the second or the third. I think that's going to be the perfect AJ Brown replacement. I do believe that that's probably my number one route to go. You did throw me a curveball by going Emmanuel McNeil Warren there because that was just like my gut pick. I do think that technically tackle is available here. Max Ianachor, the right tackle out of Arizona State, he has some incredible fluidity, super high ceiling. He needs a year. He needs a year. That's the thing. He feels very much like almost a tight end that transferred into a tackle. Great fluid movement skills. I don't know if that ends up being their route since they don't have Stout anymore and Cam Williams probably the protege to be the right tackle of the future. Therefore, I'm going to throw the curveball. We're going to go after our wide receiver here, and it's going to not be Denzel Boston. They're going to go down the line. Maybe Elijah Surratt is more their possession style. We're going to go Casey Concepcion, wide receiver at Texas A&M, and maybe bring back a little bit of Deshaun Jackson to Philadelphia.
Speaking of Deshaun Jackson, any thoughts of Brennan Thompson, wide receiver, Mississippi State?
I think he's an exciting burner who has a really weird body type that I don't know if I can get over. Like, he has super short legs for the fact that he moves so fast.
No, I just wanted to toss that one out there just for
the giggles.
Yes, for the giggles. All right, next up, we have the Browns. We already gave them Mekhi Lemon. Continue to hammer home the trend, or continue to hammer home the offense. I know they traded for Titus Howard, which, by the way, I do like the Titus Howard selection or the trade for Titus Howard a lot. I know they, in theory, overpaid for Zion Johnson, but look, the Browns, you are simply rebuilding the offensive line. I love the Elgton Jenkins signing. I like the idea of Tevin Jenkins. I don't think he should be relied on for like 17 games. I do have some concerns with his long-term health.
Mhm.
But where I'm going to go with this pick, I'm going to go Blake Miller from Clemson. And this is another experiment where it's like, hey, or thought experiment where, do we get our guy for the future? And I think that he can be a franchise, or not a franchise, but a solid tackle for the next couple of years. May go through some growing pains early on, but I do like the idea of walking out of the first round with Mekhi Lemon and Blake Miller for the Browns. And you still have pick 39. So
So, do you think Titus then moves to left tackle, or what's your plan in terms of the roles that they play?
I'd probably go Titus at left tackle and probably go Blake Miller at right. Although there is a conversation to be had where Blake is really athletic.
Yeah,
He could probably make the transition where Titus has kind of, already been on the right side. So,
sure.
you know what? I'm going to say Blake left tackle. But I
Okay.
think that this would be a year there would be a little bit of development period for him. And that's honestly why I do think that the Browns are in a position where if they want to trade up for Monroe Freeling, that they're in a prime position to be able to trade up.
Okay. So, let's just theoretically say we went after Monroe Freeling at 6,
Mhm.
right? And then that means it pushes a receiver down. Therefore, Casey Concepcion is here. Would you rather have Carnell and Blake or Freeling and Casey? Or Omar Cooper? Because I know you really love Casey, so I don't want to put you in that
I
situation.
would For the Browns specifically, here's the thing. I would actually rather have Monroe and Omar than I would KC because KC, I feel like in Cleveland would be.
Ooh.
I don't think that that would be great for KC personally.
Okay. So let's see. So Casey and Monroe, would you rather have that or Blake Miller and Carnell?
Hold on, KC and Monroe or Blake and Carnell.
Yeah. Or did we go? We went Makai Lemon, didn't we?
We went
Okay.
Mekhi Lemon.
Yeah. So
We went Mekhi.
Makai.
I would rather go Mekhi and Blake than I
Okay.
would KC because I think the floor with Mekhi Lemon is high, a lot higher
Okay.
than I do with KC. I like KC Concepcion a lot,
Yeah.
and I think there's a lot of I mean, like I'm open to the fact that I like him a lot, but I also think
Yeah.
that there's a lot of projection within his game that I'm willing to bet on and say, hey, I think that this could be a player in the right place. Now, if he goes to a bad situation,
Right.
then we're talking about something else entirely here. But
Fair.
Casey potentially going to maybe Buffalo or San Francisco at the end of the first round with
Mhm.
Josh or in a Shanahan system, then we're talking about a great fit. But
Fair enough. Okay. So here at number 29 for the Chicago Bears, you got Akeem Mesidor here, who I do certainly like a lot. Dennis Allen historically loves 6'5" plus, 260 pounds plus, which you look at Akeem, 6'3", he's not 280. I think he's what, like the 265, 270 range. Might be
he's
275. So I mean,
he's a big boy.
he's still big. But he also likes measurables. And Keldrick Falk's gonna get taken in this mock draft, I assume. And whoever's gonna be taking him is gonna hate it. I will say this.
I saw
I
your
don't
tweet earlier.
huh?
I saw your tweet earlier.
Keldrick Falk is an early round 2 player. Then the right system is going to do really damn well because you'll agree to this, Garrett. Auburn's system is garbage for allowing these players to truly play the way they would in the NFL. So his production is not 1-to-1. It is certainly a weird one. They tried to use him even at like nose tackle on certain reps. This system, he would be awesome. I'm still going to pass on that because I think that there's certainly value on the defensive interior that might provide a better floor of talent with a very deep edge class to where you could get some run stuffers for sure, but I don't think you get a bona fide early down player that deserves to be on the field as much as Caden McDonald here. And once you go Caden McDonald, you have 2 second-round picks. There's really good edge rushers there in round 2. I'd feel a lot more comfortable with that than trying to go after whatever nose is going to be there with your next pick. That's my thought process.
No, I like it. And with the Bears, I mean, you could walk out with Zion Young in the second round. And if you walked out with Cade McDonald and Zion Young, that's as a Vikings fan, I don't like that. I love Zion. I mean, Zion's one of my guys.
Yeah.
But that would not be good. That would not be one that I would want to play. Like I would not want to. That's just not
No.
something you want to go up against. All right, the Buffalo Bills are up. This is a tough situation. Like this is just all around because there's part of me where, and not that the value is necessarily the best here at receiver, but receivers, I would still argue is a team need for them, despite trading for DJ Moore.
Yep.
But I'm not going to go receiver and draft a receiver in the first round. You drafted Keon a couple of years ago. You traded a second this year for DJ. You already have your second round pick allocated for a receiver. So I'm not going to do that. This is an all around tough situation. You could certainly go interior offensive line, but is there, Emmanuel Pregnon? Is that where you want to go with the 26th pick? I don't think that the value is bad there. I still think the Bills could use corner help. And I am not the biggest Maxwell Hairston guy, admittedly. I'm not. And you know what? The more that I talk about this, the choices for me here are either Avion Terrell, Colton Hood, or Emmanuel Pregnon. The more that I kind of sound this out loud, I would not be opposed to, because he's not going to be there whenever they would be up again, because they don't have their second round pick. I honestly would not be opposed to Zion Young, but that's more so because I'm really high on Zion Young, and I know they just paid Bradley Chubb, but I would not be opposed to Zion Young either. But the pick that we are going to go with here is Avion Terrell, corner. It's, to me, the best value on the board for what is at worst a year away in terms of a need. And you can never have enough good corner play in the NFL. I think Avion Terrell is a player that will be a starting caliber corner for the next couple of years.
Oh, yeah. And then NFL bloodline too, and with physicality, speed, it's all there. So I definitely like that as well. 27 for the Niners. Interesting situation, but to me, this is actually a pretty easy one. You need a long-term answer at left tackle. You can have a short-term fill at left guard. That's what I think of with Caden Proctor. If you get one more year out of Trent or zero, Caden Proctor is still going to be an insane asset to you either way. And it's almost too good of a ceiling to pass up. I know you and I are not huge Caden Proctor guys, but this is where the reward outweighs the risk. I think it's a good situation regardless. And they got a really damn good tackle to guard hybrid transition with Pooney. I don't think it'll be the same situation remotely, but they've at least been able to prove that in concept.
I'm just looking at the Texans depth chart while I pull this up. I was not aware they signed Wyatt Teller. I didn't.
2-year deal today.
Today, okay, literally today, because I was not aware. So I'm looking at notifications from Rappaport and Schefter, and I'm like, wait a minute, I did not see any of this. I'm sitting here wondering when it happened. So that makes sense. As we record this, DJ Wanham actually signed with the Lions, so they got some pass rushing help, which that's pretty big, all things considered. Yeah. And the Vikings actually signed Bills restricted free agent tackle Ryan Van Denmark. So we'll see if the Bills match the offer sheet. Anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. Ryan Van Denmark is on the path to being a Hall of Famer if he signs with Vikings. So, all right. 49ers, or no, wait, sorry. You just took Caden Proctor. Sorry about that. Which, by the way, I do agree with what you were saying, but the Trent Williams situation, every year it seems like there's always, okay, are we going to pay Trent? What's the thing here? It just seems like it's always something. So I do agree with you on that. Bringing up the Texans now. This is I'm going to be direct here. This is a bad year to be selecting for the Texans, because you look at their needs. I'm not sold on David Montgomery / Woody Marks to be a top like 2 or 3 where, hey, we don't have to worry about that. The running back value is certainly not here at pick 28. Maybe, they wouldn't trade for Achane because they just traded for Montgomery. So that's out. The interior offensive line, do you draft Emmanuel Pregnon here? That's going to be a player that is routinely brought up towards the end of the first round. Mm-hmm. Maybe Chase Bisanis, the guard from A&M. And that leaves us with, you obviously don't need an edge because you have the best edge rushing duo in football.
Yep.
Linebacker also good. Corner's also good. Safety's also good. So that, this is a really good team outside of, hey, CJ Stroud is not an elite quarterback. Our running backs are not elite, but it's not to the point where we're going to draft a second round prospect, a mid to late second round prospect at 28. So with the Texans, every mock draft you see, if you are not already paying attention to the Texans, it really leaves you with, do we go for Emmanuel Pregnon? Presumably he's available in most mocks. Do we go with Caleb Banks if he falls? Do we go with Christian Miller? Do we go with... It's just a tough position for them to be in, man. I'm going to go with Emmanuel Pregnon in today's mock. Ooh. Pretty much for the Texans, every mock, it is interior on either side of the football. And it's because this is a bad draft for what their needs actually are. So it's, Emmanuel Pregnon's the pick.
I have Pregnon as a top 20 player, so I'm not going to
Cool,
disagree.
cool. I like him a lot as well. Cool.
I mean, also, I'm curious what you think of this as well. 2-year contracts, they may cause me to start looking at other options, but most of the time they're structured as 1 years anyway. So it's almost like risk mitigation. Like, let's just say Pregnon gets selected before and there's not a good offensive line pick. They're not SOL. They're not out
Yeah.
of luck. So I think that this could end up just being like, hey, we got lucky and, God forbid we have to pay 2 starting quality guards in this situation. So definitely could end up being like that. 29 for the Chiefs. So first pick was David Bailey. Did we just go Akeem Mesidor at this point? like, like the hell, man. TJ Parker, like the edge rushers fell. And that kind of sucks. But I was saying this earlier. I'm going to say it again. The corner core was pretty solid in terms of the value you got. Like there's third rounders later that ended up really hitting. But you did spend a first round pick on your number one. So it's not like, again, you gotten rid of Snead and it ended up getting worse. And you got rid of McDuffie and you're hoping, same thing with Watson, that they don't perform as well as Shula and that you guys just proved to be an elevation powerhouse of corner. You still ended up having a first round pick spent there. And I still think that this team absolutely needs to invest in that position. So Colton Hood certainly is the option for me. You look at Brandon Cisse as well. Ceiling sky high for these guys, but I like the physicality profile of Colton Hood. He's also a redshirt sophomore, so he's younger. And you saw this past year he transferred from Colorado to Tennessee, where he's expected to be the quarter two, ends up being able to lock down as a corner one for the entire year and ended up transferring really well and elevated his game even from Colorado. So I'm going to go with Colton Hood there also, where they drafted a corner a couple years ago. I'm forgetting his name, but I think it's a Caden something. I don't know. It's some big heavy corner a couple years ago. They ended up drafting him as well. So definitely a school they've at least shown interest in as well.
All right. The Dolphins are back on the clock. And with the Dolphins, they took Ruben Bain with the 11th pick. They already have Ruben Bain and Chop Robinson on the roster. For me, I was kind of just like, hey, which corner are you not going to take?
Yep.
And if you didn't take Colton Hood, I was going to go Brandon Cisse. Took Cisse, I was going to go Colton Hood. So for me, it's Brandon Cisse. Really good corner and really, I mean, it's an upgrade to the Dolphins defense. The Dolphins corner room last year was one that would be a trivia question in a couple of years. Quite honestly, it could be a trivia question now in terms of who was out there playing snaps for them. You upgrade the room. You walk out of the first round with Ruben Bain, Brandon Cisse, and we still have the pick here after the Patriots selection. That's a good process in terms of what the Dolphins are trying to do, which is rebuild, which is get better over the course of time. I think there is a conversation to be had of, hey, Denzel Boston is there. I am not the biggest fan of drafting Denzel Boston with the pick that you traded Jalen Waddle for. Now, I don't think that there is a massive difference between Denzel Boston and Brandon Cisse in terms of who's a better player at their position. And I don't want to say like, oh, well, I'd be fine with Boston at 32 and not 30 because of the trade, but the Patriots also need a receiver. So did we potentially miss on a player because of some hypothetical, like you don't want to draft him? I'd be comfortable with either player, if that makes sense. Like I like both prospects.
Fair enough. What are you strategizing at 32 then, or do you want to save it for then?
I want to save it.
Okay. Because I was going to say, if you're looking at both of these guys, wouldn't you want to screw over the Patriots since they're not going to take Cisse and then just like walk out with Boston and Cisse? But I'm gonna hold your excitement to the end.
I'm strategizing right now.
Strategize.
I'm looking at the draft mocks right now.
Okay, so at 31 for the New England Patriots, and again, Seahawks fans, we will be talking about a pick that we would suggest for you guys at 32, and then strategy-wise after as well. At 31 for the Patriots, I want to be able to get somebody who can get some pass rush. Caleb Von Chason walked out the door. Even though Akeem Mesidor doesn't fit in terms of the build, you look at the edge rushers the Patriots had last year, they weren't in the 275 range. Akeem Mesidor is going to be a shift from that. But good coaches are able to shift exactly what they're looking for if the talent persists. And the talent definitely makes up for it here. Unless there's some big medical red flag with the foot end up popping up again. The elbow, I think this year he ended up missing a little bit of time. But if there's a medical red flag, then maybe ignore it. But the talent is too good to pass on. I love Keldrick Falk as well, but Mesidor is going to bring a little more of the explosiveness to mimic what a lighter body type would be. He has fantastic movement skills for his size. I think it's almost a can't miss here at 31. Akeem Mesidor out of Miami.
See, you are. I mean, I already knew. Like, I was already in your head. I knew you weren't going to go there, so that was why. That was why I took Brandon Cisse. So it was. I already had a plan.
I know. I just wanted to get in your head too. I was like, I want to see if I could end up altering the course of history, so to speak. I will say this.
No, it is good though. Like I do like everything that you brought up in all seriousness.
Yeah,
Just in terms of that. But for this pick, Malik Willis right now is kind of hung out to dry. It's basically just, hey, buddy, good luck throwing to Malik Washington, Jalen Tolbert, Tutu Atwell, Theo Weiss, Taj Washington, and Terrace Marshall. Best receiver on the board, Denzel Boston. I personally like Chris Bell more. Chris Bell is coming off of a torn ACL, but we are going to, I mean, if you want to take Chris Bell, I actually wouldn't be opposed to that, but I'm going to go with Denzel Boston with the 32nd pick in the draft. That we traded from the Seahawks so that the Seahawks could get Devon Achane.
Exactly. So before I end up sending this through, I do want us to talk about, if we're sitting here and we are Seattle, looking at the board, what do you think would be a smart strategy? If they're not going to trade back and they're going to take a player here, what would you recommend? Would it be Keldrick Falk to be a long-term DeMarcus Lawrence? Would it be TJ Parker to replace Boye Mafe? What would you be looking at?
Typically, I like to mock Seattle corners in round one, but honestly, the corner market or the corner, I mean, it didn't pan out great for them here because of Hood. Typically, Hood and Cisse are there usually one of the two usually makes the 32. Usually, it didn't in today's mock. So where I'd be looking right now, Mike McDonald's defenses they're so predicated on pass rush, and to me, between Keldrick Falk, Cassius Howell, TJ Parker. Dude, I'm a big Zion Young guy. Zion Young, in my opinion, is better than all three of them. So I know he's a little down on the PFF board. I would personally go Zion Young at pick 32 to Seattle if the board plays out like this and just absolutely wreak havoc, because you already have both of the big boys in the middle in Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams. And to be able to continue to build off that. I know you're looking at your guy Malachi Lawrence, but I'd go Zion Young
for this pick. Yeah. So at number 64, let's just say this trade goes through. It's Achane. Again, I want to give this value to my Seahawks fans here who ended up actually sticking it through the episode. If it was at 64, would you still be looking at edge? And who do you think you would want to target there?
I feel like Derek Moore would be a big time Seahawk. I would, that's a day two fit. I would absolutely love. That's one I could get. Gabe, is it Jackus? Gabe,
forget the J. It's just Ackus.
Gabe Ackus. Yeah, he would be. So I watched the tape. Love the tape.
Yeah.
Great prospect. He would also, I don't think he's actually going to make it to the end of round two, though. He shouldn't in this class. But Gabe would be a good fit. Derek Moore, he would be a good fit as well.
Yeah. Okay. I was in the same boat as you, but for this selection, you said you wanted to go Denzel Boston, correct?
For the Dolphins, yes.
For the Dolphins.
We need to give Malik Willis something to throw.
Something. All right. And then again, for the Seahawks fans who are like, what the hell is going on? We did trade that selection for Devon Achane to basically replace Kenneth Walker for a year and make a push. So that's the video. Thank you all for watching. Garrett, thank you for coming on the show. Feel free to plug yourself and we'll say goodbye.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Football Analysis, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the above. Make sure to subscribe to Alex's channel. Closing in on 20,000. You may be the one to push him to 20,000 is all I'm saying. So subscribe, like the video, help out the algorithm. Appreciate everybody watching this far into the video. If you still are, listen to us yap, but please subscribe to Alex's channel.
Thank you, Garrett. And for all you guys who are watching, we'll see you later.